So please put your hands together and welcome our beloved Mr. Carr.
Wow. If I had known you could be this easily impressed, I wouldn't have practiced my speech. Just standing here, I got an ovation. It was marvelous. I have a brief comment to make before I begin my prepared remarks. A year ago, I gave the keynote speech at the moving up / graduation ceremony at Newgate IB Montessori School. And when I finished my speech, the entire audience gave me a standing ovation. Now, I only point this out because I know that some of you have heard about that event. And I didn't want anyone here to feel pressured into matching the generosity of that most sophisticated audience. Okay? So don't feel any pressure there. Now, I've learned a number of important lessons in the last 5 months. The first lesson was beware of the dangers of holding a conversation with your computer. Yes, when I found out I had a PSA level of 964.34, by the way, the normal high end, I think Becca could say, is like 2.5 to 4, and mine was 964.38. Well, I was just too impatient. I couldn't wait to have a conversation with my new doctor at the Florida cancer specialist. Instead, I went directly to Siri on my iPad. Hey Siri, I have a PSA reading of 964.38. What should I do? Her response was instantaneous. Please follow these directions, she said. Do not take the time to shut down your iPad. I will do that for you later. Now, just step away from your iPad, bend over and kiss your, well, needless to say, I'm not a big fan of Siri. And I'm here today as a testament to the fact that her instantaneous conclusions are wrong at times. Now, I may have gotten a bad break. However, there's that other side of the coin. We can't always think about that one side. There's the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin afforded me the opportunity to speak directly to all of you. Now, I must admit that the process of preparing a speech for today was more complicated than I anticipated. Now, you know, I prepared a lot of speeches. It was complicated because I had to deal with my PSA level, my cancer, my chemo treatments. Well, I had a lot of hurdles to overcome. The first of those hurdles was my surgery. Due to the significant lesions on my hips, my orthopedic doctor inserted rods from my hip to just above my knee on each hip. And this was done to, as Steve said, to stabilize my hips. Obviously, the surgeries severely limited my mobility. Mobility became my next hurdle. That hurdle was overcome by the use of the wheelchair for longer distances and the walker for shorter distances for standing and for balance. By the way, if I should fall over while delivering my speech, do not pick me up. I would like to test my Betty White endorsed medical alert system. Okay. very next hurdle was not unexpected. It was my post-surgery medications. Those medications prevent me from using the thought patterns necessary to handle impromptu and extemporaneous speaking. Here comes the judge. Okay. Anyway, so therefore I have to write down everything. I have to write it down. And I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of writing stuff down like that. Anyway, as the date of this gathering got closer and closer, the committee expressed a concern about who would deliver my remarks if I happened to be under the weather. Thus, I had another hurdle. I had to find a possible replacement. Now, just so you know, she's hiding over there by the wall, I have the best wife in the whole world. I really do. And she has a coffee mug to prove it. However, Mrs. Carr, Becky as I call her, dear most of the time, will not give public speeches. She made that perfectly clear on the day we got married. She was fine with the for better, for worse, for richer or poorer, but she drew the line in the sand when it came to public speaking. So with one of my top choices crossed off the list to deliver my speech, I turned to my son Aaron. Now we communicated back and forth from Sarasota to his home in Newport, Vermont. He kept me on my toes with questions about my speech. How long is your speech, Dad? I don't know, son. I keep falling asleep while practicing. Well then, Dad, how many pages is your speech? I think it's 11. Aaron replied in almost a shout, Dad, you cannot give an 11-page speech. I replied, I know, but I really have two speeches wrapped up into one. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for their outpouring of support. And then I want to be selfish. I want to present one of my stories with one of my teachable moments. And by the way, if my speech is 11 pages long, it's because of my eyesight. I use a 30-point font. Okay, Aaron said, I guess not wanting to extend the discussion any further. I have one last question for you, Dad. What is the theme of your teachable moment? Oh, Aaron, that part was easy. I had two solid ideas. My original idea was, memories are the wind beneath my walker. Don't worry, Aaron, I shot that down when I realized I came up with the idea right after I took an oxy pill of questionable dosage. So I have decided to stick with my second choice, horse racing at the Kentucky Derby. What do you think of that? There was this long silence on the other end of the phone, and then I heard Aaron say, just remember, Dad, the weather in Vermont is unpredictable this time of the year. I could get snowed in and unable to fly out. If that happens, I'm sure that there are individuals at the gathering with public speaking backgrounds. You might want to ask one of them to deliver your speech. Hey, RJ. However, in the end, there was no need for concern. The weather in Vermont was just fine. My son is here. And I was able to get over all of those little hurdles to be here in person to say thank you and to introduce my teachable moment. My thank you begins with a narrative. I was looking back there and I saw somebody. Every place you go, you run into people. They went to Riverview. I was getting hooked up to chemo and this woman comes over and goes, "Are you Ron Carr?" Depends. He says, "I'm Latrina Singleton's mother." I go, "Oh, Latrina's mother." Trina's a principal now. Anyway, we'll talk. Okay. My thank you begins with a narrative. After my illness was diagnosed, I went about doing what I thought I needed to be doing. I talked to family and friends, restructured my social and professional life, And then after some consideration, I posted a comment on Facebook. I just figured from the horse's mouth, you know, you got the idea. And shortly after that Facebook posting, I was told that a group of former colleagues and former students wanted to put together an informal event in my name. Well, at first, I felt awkward. I felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed that I could be entertaining the idea of attending a gathering that focused on moi. For those of you that are not bilingual, me. However, the more I thought about it, the more I thought about the idea, the more I realized that an event such as the committee was planning would be an opportunity for me to say thank you in person for the kind words, for the expressions of caring, and for the prayers of support that I have received. As I look around this room today, I realized I made the right decision by listening to the organizers. So my first thank you is to the organizers. Today is perfect in every way. And we'll talk later. As I look around this room, I see, of course, family and friends, neighbors from across the street, John and Velma, have done so much for me. There's the PA I see at the Florida Cancer Specialist. She's a Riverview grad. I see 1, 2, I see a whole bunch of principals. I see a current judge of the 12th Judicial Circuit of Florida. We're not going to talk about her career prior to then when she won all of those other titles. I'm not going to mention Miss Manatee, Miss Florida. She's a judge. All right? So sit up straight. Okay. Is Tom Murphy here?
Yes, he's right here.
There he is. There he is. Dirty little, born on top of Garbage Hill. Never worshiped. Tom was my history teacher, my track coach, my football coach. And every student in this school loved Tom Murphy. And right before we had a day off, and not much was going on, they would send all of us to the cafeteria. And Tom would be there with his guitar entertaining. And he would sing various songs, and the one song that we all wanted to hear was that song I just sang, Dirty Lil. Thanks for coming, Tom. I really appreciate that. I think I see a former superintendent and a current superintendent of schools. Wow. I'm almost impressed with myself. Thank you. Those two women have done more for this county than... Anyway, we'll talk more later. I see a celebrated news anchor. He's wearing shorts. He does that probably when he does his announcements, you know. We just can't see because there's a desk there. Okay. I tried to get him into speech and debate, but he had this thing about wearing a kilt. He just couldn't get him out of the band. He wanted to play that instrument. And just think what he could have become if he had gotten into speech. And, you know, there are just way too many lawyers in this room to count. That's just the bottom line. They're everywhere. So if I fall, please. Does the school system have money? Yeah. All right. I see former colleagues who challenge me every day to match their professionalism. And I see those familiar, yet somewhat older faces, former Riverview High School students and members of the varsity speech and debate team. Those were the ones that made going to work each day for 35 years a journey worth traveling. Looking around this room is joyful beyond belief. Such an incredible group of outstanding individuals. A list of your accomplishments is way beyond my ability to document. Time and time again, you have demonstrated the willingness to look beyond yourselves in order to make a difference in the lives of others, just as you have made a difference in my life. You're the faces behind so many of my memories. Please understand that those memories have given me comfort when I needed it most. And at times, I laughed out loud, or, just to myself. At times, I cried, and at times, I cringed, especially while looking at pictures and videos. How do we ever believe that some of those hairstyles and clothing choices would be fashionable? Whether the memories we shared were happy or sad or downright crazy, they are the memories that help keep me positive, focused on getting better. They are the memories that gave me the strength to stand here today to try to express just how thankful I am to have shared so many special moments in time with you. Now, for me, selfish, and I hope you will agree, I could not let today pass without telling one of my many stories. A story with a teachable moment attached for good measure. My former students, Benham Sims, where are you? Okay, there's Benham. One of my former students, Benham Sims, traveled down from Kentucky. His uncle, Johnny Y. Brown, was governor of Kentucky. On March 29th, 1980, Governor Brown signed a proclamation declaring me an honorary Kentucky colonel. Pretty special, huh? As an official Kentucky colonel, I can tell you that Kentucky has many rich traditions, and one of those traditions is horse racing. And I believe that there is an important lesson to be learned by focusing on one event that takes place at the Kentucky Derby. Now, just minutes before the race is to start, the jockeys are in the paddock. They are standing next to the horses. Then an official, sometimes a celebrity, will shout out, "Riders up!" On that command, the trainers give the jockeys a leg up onto the horses. And from that point on, the race is all about the jockeys, the horses, the condition of the racetrack, and a bit of luck. As a teacher, my job was somewhat similar to that of the horse trainer, giving a leg up to the jockey before the actual race. Obviously, I was very proud to use the talents I had been given to help my students. And I'm not ashamed to say that I cheered from the rail as loudly as anyone. But I did not run a single race. I repeat, I did not run a single race. That responsibility belonged to each individual student. Truthfully, I have been given way too much credit for the deeds of the very talented individuals who walked into my room year after year. Excuse me. However, I have to be totally honest. Recently, with all the chemo treatments and all of the shots and all the medications, my real memory has become cloudy. Cloudy to the point that as I reread the postings and the messages from my former students on Facebook, I'm starting to believe what they said. I'm beginning to take more and more credit for their successes. So, folks, keep on posting. Keep on posting. Finally, I come back to the realization of just how blessed my journey has been. As a teacher, the thrill, the joy for me was to be able to help strengthen a student's enthusiasm for facing challenges. And with all of your kind words, your expressions of caring, and your prayers, you all have given me a leg up. You've helped strengthen my enthusiasm for facing challenges. Well, you know, now it's my race to run. I cannot promise that I'll win that race. However, I can promise that with your support, your cheering loudly from the rail, that I will be up to the challenge. Thank you. Thank you for being the best.